The State family is breaking their silence, saying their son suffered years of sexual abuse by a senior camp counselor at one of the country's largest Christian camps, attended by many youth in Middle Tennessee.
News 4's Holly Thompson sat down with the family as they relived this tragic story.
They say these years of sexual abuse could have been prevented. Lies, negligence, and a cover-up, all claims this family tells me that involve the camp's leadership that they want held accountable.
A lot of kids would be like, you know, I want to be like Pete whenever I grow up.
Seen here in a KANAKUK counselor playbook, Pete Newman's often described as the face of KANAKUK camps, popular and charismatic. Newman was a lead counselor and later promoted to camp director at KANAKUK, considered one of the elite and largest Christian camps with about 20,000 kids attending each summer. Logan Yandell is now 27, but started attending KANAKUK in Branson, Missouri at age 7.
He was our little boy that we sent to camp to have fun and have a spiritual mentor and have wonderful experiences. And it was, you know, it was just honestly the worst mistake we could have ever made as parents, was to send him to that camp.
He worked for years to groom me into trusting him enough to get into this place where he could, you know, molest me.
Letters and phone calls, eventually alone time with Pete, then mission trips, even a visit to Pete's personal residence, all among the places where Logan's family says he was sexually abused by Pete from age 9 to 13. Logan wasn't alone.
I would gladly trade my life if I could take back the things that I've done and the pain that I've caused.
In June of 2010, Pete Newman pleaded guilty to 7 counts of sexually abusing boys, and he's now serving 2 life sentences plus 30 years. But the story doesn't end there.
No normal adult would have allowed another adult that rode naked with children on four-wheelers or skinny dipped or anything else. No normal adult would have allowed that person to stay in their camp at all.
But that's exactly what the Yandell family says happened. Newman was allowed to continue his work with children at KANAKUK for years, even though the Yandells say KANAKUK leaders, specifically camp leader Joe White, listed on the camp's website as chief executive officer, knew about nude activities and inappropriate behavior involving Newman and young boys.
He told me of instances in 1999 and in 2003 of which they caught Peter Newman four-wheeling in the nude with campers and skinny dipping, of which he was caught multiple times, and Joe White described these situations to me in detail.
We began to realize a lot of new facts that were coming out, that actual evidence with, you know, a piece of paper or a date or someone's testimony, that it was actual evidence that started leading us to go, okay, we've been lied to.
They didn't want these facts to get out, that in fact they were negligent, and Joe White personally was negligent in making a decision after he was told specifically, Pete Newman is a risk to be around kids, he's a risk to the camp, and he should not be here.
To have this mastermind behind KANAKUK come in and do the things he's done to hide and cover up what he knew to be factual, that could have completely prevented my son's abuse, completely prevented it altogether.
The Yandell family says that same camp leadership then is still in place at KANAKUK now, and tells me more victims are coming forward and sharing their stories on this website called factsaboutkanakuk.com, but say many are not able to speak out because of their non-disparagement agreements. In an open letter from Joe White to victims and their families this past February, White apologizes for the pain they may have endured as a victim of abuse during Pete Newman's time with KANAKUK. He goes on to say, "I wish I would have understood what I was truly dealing with, and I am devastated by your pain and suffering under my watch."
Joe made a statement in that letter, and he said, I wish we knew what we were dealing with. They did know. So even to this day, they are still not admitting that they knew that Pete Newman should not have been around kids, when in fact they did know it, and they chose to allow Pete Newman to continue to be around kids, which led to the opportunity for him to abuse so many kids.
I applaud Logan and the victims. I applaud them so much for their strength and standing up for what's right and trying to make a difference.
The Yandell family did settle and sign a non-disclosure agreement with KANAKUK, but says had they known at the time, back in 2010, what they know now, they would never have signed it. The Yandell family and KANAKUK abuse survivors who wrote an open letter to Joe White are asking for three things. First, they say they want Joe White and KANAKUK to admit what they knew, when they knew it, and be held accountable. They want an independent investigation into KANAKUK, and they want victims to be released from their NDAs so they can share their stories.
Holly Thompson reporting, and KANAKUK did release a statement. It says in part, as soon as KANAKUK became aware of abuse, we took action, including immediate termination and reporting of this individual.
It goes on to say our KANAKUK Child Protection Plan, which contains over 340 identifiable and measurable protective elements, is integrated throughout the KANAKUK organization and has been shared with more than 600 youth-serving organizations across the country.
If you would like to read KANAKUK's entire statement, we have posted it on our website and in the News 4 app.
Well, new tonight is